I love basil. It's one of my favorite herbs. I love how fragrant and aromatic it is. One of the best ways to experience basil is to make it into a pesto sauce. Now in a previous video, I showed you how to make a very simple semolina flour and water pasta dough. If you haven't seen that video, I'll put a link to it up here. We're gonna use that dough to make a very classic pasta and sauce combination. My name's Chef Jeremy with Lineage Culinary, and today we're gonna make Trofie al Pesto. So here are my ingredients for basil pesto. I've got my basil leaves here. I've got some Italian parsley, and you just want the leaves only, remove those stems. I've got some unsalted butter, and I'm letting that soften to room temperature. I've got a clove of garlic. I've got some walnuts and some pine nuts, some kosher salt, some fresh ground black pepper, extra virgin olive oil, and then I've got Parmigiano Reggiano. Now you want a nice block cheese that you can grate. I would recommend Parmigiano Reggiano because it's the best, but if you don't want to spend the money on that, you can use any Parmesan or Romano will also work. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna crush our garlic. And we're gonna chop our nuts. Now this traditionally is also made in a mortar and pestle, where you just grind everything together. But you can also do it with a knife. I like to do a knife versus a food processor because I think it doesn't break up the ingredients as much. It's a little more delicate, so I like to do it that way. But you could use a food processor if you wanted to also. As you're chopping, you can smell that aroma from the garlic, the basil, and the herbs. It smells wonderful. Now I've got everything chopped up, and you can see I'm not chopping up everything super fine. You want some particulate left in there, and that's why I said I like to use a knife or a mortar and pestle. If you are going to use a food processor, it's important not to puree this. You want to pulse it so that you still have some bits and pieces of the nuts and the herbs aren't super fine. Now I'm going to take that butter, and I've let that soften a little bit, and I'm just going to use my fingers and just massage that in and break that up and massage that into the herbs as well. And just turn that into a paste, and then I'm going to transfer this into a mixing bowl and finish mixing everything. Okay, now I've got my ingredients in the mixing bowl, and I'm just going to go nice pinch of kosher salt, pinch of black pepper, and this has been freshly ground. Now I'm going to add my extra virgin olive oil. That's a 1/4 cup. Really just get that nice and incorporated there, mixed in well. Now I've got my bowl on a scale, and I'm just going to grate my cheese right into the bowl. I'm looking for about 1/2 ounce. Then mix again with my fork. Now you notice I'm using a pretty big bowl here, and the reason is I'm going to make this pesto and let it stay out room temperature, cook my pasta, and add it right to my pesto. That way it's super fresh. I don't want to refrigerate this because once I refrigerate that, I'm going to start losing some of those essential oils in that basil. So you want to leave it room temp where it's going to taste much better. And there's our pesto. It's ready to go. I'm just going to add some pasta and a little bit of pasta water, mix this together, and it's going to make a wonderful sauce. Now it's time to make the Trofie. So you want to roll out your pasta dough. And this is a simple semolina flour and water dough. Now I've got another video on how to make this, so I'm not going to go into detail here. But you want to stretch this out using your hands till it's a long snake. Now roll my pasta out till it's about the same thickness as my pinky. That's what I'm looking for right there. I'm going to take my dough cutter, and I'm going to cut these into little squares about 1 centimeter. So now you want to take your dough pieces, put them in your hands, and rub your hands back and forward until you got your pieces nice and long. About like that, maybe a little thinner. Okay, now that you've got all your pasta rolled out, you want to put a little groove in there to help hold the sauce. So you want to take your pasta, set it here, and then take your bench knife and just push down enough so that you can get it to stick to the board and roll around and get a little groove just like that. This takes a little bit of practice getting the right amount of pressure so that the pasta will roll and stick to the board without cutting through it. There we go. And just keep repeating that. If you're having a hard time with it on the board, you can also do it in your hands like that. Now I've got my room temperature pesto here and my Trofie cooking in boiling salted water. When my pasta's finished, I'm gonna transfer it into the bowl, leaving a lot of that pasta water on there to drain into the pesto. I want the starch in that water that's gonna help thicken the pesto and make a sauce. I need a little more of that pasta water, so I'm just gonna dump some from the pot. And now I'm gonna toss that and allow that cheese to melt and everything to kind of incorporate into that starchy pasta water, and it'll start to form a sauce. It needs to cool a little bit and we'll start to thicken. You can see here it's still a little loose, so I added some cheese. Toss again and get to the right consistency. You can see here my sauce is looking nice and creamy. At this stage, I also test for salt and pepper to see if I need to add more of that. And then I like to shave a little bit of freshly shaved Parmesan cheese on top. And here you can see a beautiful creamy pasta dish. This is going to be wonderful. Look at that. That's great. And that's Trofie al Pesto. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you'd like the recipe, it's at lineageculinary.com. My name's Chef Jeremy. Thank you for watching.